guys, I wanted to make a video about what it was like to do a 10-day silent meditation retreat while I was 8 months pregnant. So if you've booked one and you were like me and binge watching YouTube videos to know what to expect, or if you are thinking about doing it and want to know a little bit more, or certainly if you're pregnant and want a little more information, hopefully this is helpful. What I did was a Vipassana 10-day retreat. It's actually 12 full days, but 10 days of actual meditation. If you clicked on this video, you probably know that you meditate a lot and there's a bunch of things you're not allowed to do. You're basically meditating for roughly 10 to 13 hours a day. It's a little flexible because you can do some on your own in your room, which a lot of people take some naps. And then you have your kind of required group meditation in the hall. But it's basically eat, sleep, meditate. So here's what I expected would be really challenging. Pregnancy-wise, I was expecting a lot of physical pain. I struggled to sleep. By month 8, I could barely sit in normal chairs, so the idea of sitting for 10 hours a day on the floor was terrifying. And one message that I've really taken to heart since being pregnant is not pushing through things with just brute force, but actually slowing down and listening to what my body's telling me. And so this was kind of an experience where I thought I would have to really push forward, and I just was worried I wasn't going to be able to do that. Non-pregnancy wise, I was really terrified of the silence and what would happen when I got rid of all of my distractions. I was kind of afraid of my own mind. I was afraid of boredom and going stir crazy for sure. I was really afraid of like having a brutal panic attack in like a quiet room full of people. So what was it like doing this while pregnant? Well, first, this organization is so supportive of pregnant women. When I first signed up for the course, they sent me an email saying, hey, we saw in your form that you were pregnant. Here's a whole bunch of things that we're gonna do to make you more comfortable. And I didn't expect that. I was honestly a little bit worried that they weren't gonna let me in because I had never heard of anyone doing this before. One thing they said in their email was that lots of women actually come to these retreats specifically because and while they're pregnant. So I kind of felt like, oh, okay. Also, the instructor told me on my first day that everyone else was here to struggle and really sit with pain and really push through things that are hard, but my experience was going to be different and I was allowed to ignore a lot of that. And my first priority was to take care of my baby, and so I had their blessing and support to do whatever I needed to do. The only thing that I really was grateful for, like that I really needed, was that you're really not supposed to shift or move a lot when you're meditating, and I was allowed to do that. I had their blessing. So the biggest surprise was that it was actually the easiest 2 weeks of pregnancy that I've had thus far. Because all you're doing is eating and sleeping and sitting with really good posture and doing very light walking, it's just super easy on your body. The food is incredibly healthy. Everybody will tell you the food is amazing. There it is. It's this great vegetarian food, and it's super healthy, and you're not allowed to eat really past 5 p.m. And so all of the digestive issues and indigestion and acid reflux and stuff that had kind of been keeping me up at night, completely gone for the whole 12 days, which was really surprising. So basically, I had virtually none of the pregnancy symptoms, like my back didn't hurt, didn't have any indigestion, didn't have any sleeping problems. Everything was gone, which really made me wonder what I've been doing wrong in my life here, because by most standards, I feel like I've been generally healthy with this pregnancy, but this completely detoxing, cleansing environment like made every symptom go away. I wouldn't want to do this for the whole pregnancy, but it was a really lovely 2-week break from all of the kind of physical hardships. So getting into this sitting, what it was like to sit. So my husband, Manuel, had done one of these before, and he told me that a bench, which I'll show a picture of here, is kind of life-saving because it's just really hard to sit without any back support for that long. And when he did his, midway through, he was about to leave, but he ended up having somebody make this little bench for him that ended up kind of saving his back. So I bought one on Amazon, and I was super excited to go in and everybody else be sitting on the floor and me be like with my meditation bench all expert. And I go in, and there have been some technological advances in meditation equipment since I think he did his. People showed up with these massive suitcases full of like full-on chairs with back rests and arm rests and knee rests, and me with my little bench was kind of sad. But luckily they have tons of extra equipment for you, and so I think like every day for me I just added new stuff. So I started in the middle of the room just sitting without any back support on my bench. That lasted 1 day. And then the next day I moved my stuff over to a wall, and I sat with my back up against a wall, so I had plenty of support. Just tons of pillows down here, had stuff up on my knees. Every day I added a new cushion or padding somewhere. It was actually pretty comfortable, but that part was actually super easy. And then the last kind of thing I'd say about what it was like doing it pregnant was the baby movements were really cool, but very distracting. One of the things that a lot of people talk about when you get like past day 6 or 7 is that you can really feel your body sensations in a way that you never have before. You can feel your blood rushing, you can feel your heart beating in different body parts, you can feel like different nerve endings. You get incredibly attuned to your own sensations. I never got super far on that spectrum, and I think it was because this baby kept kicking me and distracting me, but it was really fun. I felt very connected. They told me that when you're meditating, if you feel the baby kick, it's perfectly fine to switch your attention onto the baby's movements instead of trying to like focus on what you were focusing on, just because it's a unique time in life that you're gonna be able to do that. And the babies move the most when it's really quiet and when you're not moving. And so he was very active the whole time, so that was really exciting. It also kind of made me feel like I was cheating a little bit because I felt a little less lonely because I had this kind of other human that was with me. So it wasn't just me and my own brain by myself. I kind of felt like I had a little partner, which was kind of cool. Here's what was unexpected. First, a dopamine detox like that is like no other experience. We travel a lot, and I talk a lot about how I feel like once you've been to a certain number of cities and countries, it gets really hard to feel like you're in a completely new environment just because globalization has made it such that this experience is kind of similar everywhere you go. And we often used scuba diving as like the last kind of really bizarre, weird new world you can go into. I think dopamine detoxing may be that level of new. I've done digital detoxes without my phone or my computer, but I've never not had the ability to talk to someone or make eye contact for that long. And it was super intense. For the first 3 days, I think I felt very zombie-like. Just kind of not like myself, and it was just this very calm, very relaxing, wonderful feeling. And then after that, I kind of got back to my old self. But it took about 3 days to really get used to that. It was really intense. I don't know how else to describe it other than it was just a new experience. One thing I didn't expect was to feel such a sense of freedom from that detox. And I was really surprised I couldn't journal, and at first I was really upset because I wanted to be able to like remember all this stuff. But I think even having a journal would have put just a tiny bit of pressure to write something down, and not even being able to make a list. It completely takes away any sense of responsibility. For the first couple of days, I would think, oh crap, I forgot to cancel that appointment, or shoot, I didn't email that person back. And then it was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. So there's never been another time in my life when I have felt that level of freedom to do nothing. I was surprised at how long it took me to clear my head. So the first 3 days are one kind of meditation where you're just focusing on breathing, and then they get into the actual Vipassana technique after that. And they do that because that's about how long it takes to get your brain to focus. And there was these 3 levels. So the first day, when I would get distracted, it was all song lyrics. I don't know why. It was just every song I've ever heard in my life, I was like replaying through my head, or like it would just pop into my brain. And then the second day, it was movies. I watch a lot of movies. So just reliving movies, thinking about the characters, wondering what they're up to, wondering what's going to happen in the next episode of certain shows. And then the third day, I relived my entire relationship with every human I've ever known. So I was just thinking about group trips I'd taken, our wedding, vacations, coworkers, relationships. Kind of felt like I relived almost my entire life. Then once that was kind of cleared out, I really dropped into another level on day 4, which was really interesting. But it took 3 days of sitting almost all day for your head just to kind of clear all that stuff out. And the thing that surprised me was how little sleep was needed. I was very worried about the 4 a.m. wake time, and that's actually not that much sleep. But when you're meditating and when your brain is really relaxed and when you don't have a lot of stimulus, you actually need far less sleep. And during my pregnancy, I've been taking shit tons of naps and sleeping a lot. And so I was really worried about that, but actually I was completely fine on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, surprising. And then the dreams. A lot of people talk about how bizarre the dreams are, and I think it's when you're not giving your brain anything during the day that it needs to process. Your sleep kind of just makes it weird for you. But my dreams were absurdly positive. I had all these dreams about friends just being nice to each other. I would wake up feeling so happy and like calm. It was very strange. And then I cried a lot. When Manuel dropped me off, I cried like a child being dropped off at summer camp. It was very sad, but then every day it got a little bit less, but every day there was a good solid cry. Not even sure why. It could have been boredom, loneliness, or hormones, but I did get a lot of cathartic crying in. And BT dubs, lots of people cried in the meditation halls, so if you're going through something really shitty and you're worried that you're going to be emotional, just know that you definitely won't be the only one. Lots of people cry during meditation. And then the last thing that was kind of unexpected is there is no sound. You're out in the middle of nowhere. Most of these Vipassana centers, actually I think all of them, are pretty far from cities. And because you're not talking and the only sounds are like of nature, once we could talk, it was like a roar, which was actually interesting to know that you can actually reset kind of how your ears work, if that makes sense. That we're not completely deafened by noise pollution from like living in cities, but it was really hard to focus on people talking once we were out of our silence. So what's changed since I've been back? I've noticed that this practice has just dipped into every possible part of my life, from how I handle pregnancy and all of the sensations, obviously how I'm practicing for the mindful birth experience, my relationship with Manuel, how I think about productivity, life goals, how I go about my day. I find myself thinking quite often that this would be a lot harder if I hadn't spent those 10 days meditating. Like, I'm really glad that I had that training because this is easy now. I find that I'm a lot more comfortable with physical and emotional discomfort and the idea of impermanence, and that, certain feelings and thoughts and actions are temporary and will go away. One thing that was great is we went on a baby moon to Arizona where it was 110 degrees, and I planned all these hikes for us, and I was really pregnant and really uncomfortable a lot of the time, and it was a really good test of, can I enjoy this and can I focus on this experience even though I'm feeling uncomfortable and kind of wish it was cooler or wish my back didn't hurt. And I found that invaluable. It made me a much better travel partner. And definitely one thing, now that I'm 2 months out, is that the longer I go without meditating, the longer it takes to get back to that level of focus that I had. When I first got back, I could sit for an hour and I could drop right into the Vipassana practice. A couple days later, I needed like 10 minutes of just focus and clearing out time before I could do Vipassana. And now I think it's like I'm getting into a couple days of just focusing on breathing before I can even get into the practice. It's still a lot faster than before I did it, but just realizing how quickly all of that junk, the movies and the music and the obsessing over interactions with friends and people, starts to build up in your brain again. The last thing is that it takes a lot of practice. You don't leave the course a complete expert and you're done. It's like a lifelong thing you have to keep practicing. One of the themes that I really appreciated that they really honed in on a lot was the difference between understanding something at an intellectual level and understanding it because you experience it. And it kept reminding me of a lot of the general culture here in San Francisco especially, of people who read articles and books and feel like they understand something but don't really practice it. I'm certainly one of those people. And so that's a big lesson that I kind of took. I'm not going to get any benefits just because I know how to meditate. I actually have to do it. So in summary, for any pregnant mamas, I could not recommend this more highly. Pregnancy is such a unique and temporary time in your life that it's really a gift to give yourself 10 days to just slow the F down and go sit somewhere and be with yourself and learn a really, really valuable technique that will help throughout the rest of the pregnancy, childbirth, and certainly parenting. I couldn't think of a better thing to learn to prepare for such a change. For everyone else, it's really, really, really hard, but completely doable. After I was done, I felt like I'd run a marathon. The same sense of like endorphins and accomplishment. I'm still very proud that I did this. There's a lot more I could talk about. The technique itself, what stuff came up for me specifically, or kind of like a play-by-play of what days were hard, what days were easy, which is kind of interesting. But I really just wanted to touch on what it was like to do it pregnant, because I know I was really curious, and hopefully give people that may be on the fence about it a little more information without giving too many expectations. So yeah, thanks for watching. Super curious what your experiences have been, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to talk about it. Thanks.